Another year, another Nike Metcon, this one the Metcon 9. And if you notice the videos on my channel, I didn't do a video on the Metcon 8 because I saw nothing notable or any reason to buy the Metcon 8 over the Metcon 7, whereas the Metcon 7, there was a couple things that I really liked. First of all, I thought this lace lock was gonna be pretty gimmicky, and it's been on the 7, the 8, and now the 9. And I really miss it on shoes that don't have it because there's movements like double unders. And I know you're gonna say, hey, maybe just double tie your shoes. But even when I've double tied the shoelaces on other shoes, they've come undone when you're doing a lot of double unders. And this lace lock, which actually, if you haven't seen my Metcon 7 video, comes from the wrestling realm, because if your shoes come untied in wrestling, you get penalized. So they just add this little Velcro tab to keep it locked down, has been incredibly handy and something I just don't worry about. Also, the integrated hyperlift insert, adding a little more stability in the heel, especially for front squats, for example, or even wall balls. And ever since then, I've enjoyed it. The Metcon 6 just had hyperlift inserts, whereas I do enjoy the integration of it. And if you look just quickly on the Metcon 9, they've increased the size. By the way, I think this is most aesthetically pleasing Metcon 9 that I've seen to date. I said about the Metcon 7, Metcon 8 I thought was personally ugly as hell. Another reason why I didn't want to buy it. But I think this is great, and one of the reasons is they got rid of that silk printing on top of the upper, and one of the reasons they had that in the predecessors was because it added increased durability over the breathable mesh. So it's going to be interesting to see how this holds up over the 7s, over the 8s, without that additional protection on top. And if you look closely at the upper, it has two layers. It's got a mesh layer, and then it's got a layer underneath, and hopefully that leads to durability, as well as this haptic 3D printing on areas where shoes tend to wear down, which is at the very tip of the toes and on the inside part of the foot, for just additional protection. Now, another interesting thing about not having anything restrictive like the silk printing that didn't allow it to stretch. These shoes stretch. Now, the forefoot is still technically the same size, but because the material is able to stretch, it allows your foot to splay a little more. So it actually feels like it has a wider toe box than its predecessors, which I thoroughly need when I'm lifting. Now, the most technical difference of the Metcon 9 over its predecessors is dual density foam in the sole. All Metcons prior are singular density. And one of the complaints I believe people had when they run is that it felt a little too stiff. So personally, when I ran in the shoe, I think it does feel better. I don't know if it's placebo effect. I don't know if it's new shoes. I just don't know. But I do know it actually does have two densities. It's softer and low density in the forefoot to allow better movement when you're running, more cushioning, better for plyometrics, and then you still want that really dense foam, really tough, stiff foam in the back to allow for lifting. Because when a shoe is marketed as something that's good for running, they seem to sacrifice on how much weight can bear on the back of the foot. And I've seen that, like the Rad 1s is a prime example, where it's a great running shoe, and I think it's the best cross-training shoe to run in to date, but you can't lift any more than 315 pounds before you start seeing it squish. And for a lot of us, maybe that's not gonna be a problem, but again, I just want one shoe to do it all. I don't have to reach for this shoe to do this workout or this shoe. And I think the Metcon 9, at least the Metcon 7, has been my 100% workhorse shoe. And as I ran in them, I've said in the past for other Metcons, I don't think I would want to run in any more than a mile. Like for a Murph, that's going to be the limit, a mile at a time. In these, as long as you're someone that lands more on the forefoot and the midfoot, not the heel, because you're going to get that more dense foam and you're still going to have problems with stiffness and it's just not going to feel good. As long as it's the midfoot landing and the forefoot landing, I think I could probably even run a 5K in these. It felt pretty good, and I felt a little more cushioning. It felt more of like a minimalist running shoe. So that new sole is incredibly interesting and a reason I had to get my hands on them. Other things that they say is the tread on here is gonna be grippier. I don't know, I never have real problems slipping. And then they increased the rope guard. I always ask this every time a Metcon comes out, is who's doing so many rope climbs that their shoe is wearing down? Drop a note in the comments if you're someone that does that and has had that problem. I've never had that problem, and I think I've done a lot of rope climbs. Also, you know what? If you could hit that subscribe and that like button and hit that alert bell when new videos come out, I would really appreciate it, and that'd be a great way to support the channel.